Hello my beautiful people, welcome to the next in the Signs of the Zodiac series with me, Raphael from Reydiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, share and hit that subscribe button. If you are already a continued subby, thank you so much for all of your support. It truly means the world. So with that said, we are here to talk about Gemini. Today is all about Gemini, the mutable air sign. And for me, when you think of a mutable sign in terms of water and air, like when you're talking about the mutable signs, you really are talking about the most sort of the most changeable, right? So when we talk about a mutable sign, you'll find a mutable sign at the end of a season. So this is the end of spring, where spring then gives way to going on into summer, right? So when you see, and so that's what we're talking about when we see mutable signs. They're also changeable, they're movable, they are, indifferent to the sign that come before them. They are not fixed. They have this quality of moving and flowing anywhere that they please and anywhere that they choose. So this here, the Roman numeral 2, or the glyph, which is the glyph for Gemini. So this is the symbol that represents the sign of Gemini, and also the planet that rules Gemini is Mercury, and that is Mercury's glyph right there. So we talk about the sign of Gemini. What do we know about them? I've seen a couple of memes that really are really funny, and it's so funny because when you read the comments underneath, like some people are like, Gemini's a Satan, like, and I really don't think that is true. I really don't resonate with or agree with that. What I can tell you, with my trusty notes here, Gemini represents the twins, right? There's a dual aspect to it. There is an aspect of duality to Gemini. And you know, when you're talking about Gemini, you think of the twins, right? That's what it represents. And this for me demonstrates how they can be one or the other, and they can be interchangeable in the two. And one of the things, like some people say, oh, well, that means they're two-faced. And I actually really don't believe that. What I believe is that they are in some ways quite fickle. The wind, the air itself is changeable. It can blow this way one minute, it can blow that way another. And in that respect, that's what you're kind of looking at when you think about the sign of Gemini. So as always, I've split the traits, or some of the traits, just some, I could go on forever, but it would be a ridiculously long video. I've split them into the blessings and the lessons. I never ever want to be a part of a world where we say to people, these are your negative traits, these are things about you that are bad. Because we are all so self-deprecating enough as it is. I don't ever want to be a part of that. So I split it into the blessings, which are the things that come natural and easy to us, and the lessons, the things that if we're unconscious, if we don't stay conscious, or if we run into a period of life where we allow certain parts of our personality to go unchecked, we end up kind of in some murky or muddy waters. So therefore they're lessons. They express as lessons. They are things that we need to transcend in order to learn more about ourselves and to express the best of who we are. And very often in the lesson you find your blessing, and that kind of is, they go hand in hand, right? And who better than Gemini? Hand in hand. Gemini rules the shoulders, the arms, the hands. Gemini rules the third house in astrology, which interestingly enough is how you use what you've got, right? And so there's also this kind of almost ambidextrous quality. You find a lot of Geminis can write with both hands or do things with both hands, and will be able to identify with both sides of an argument. They are two sides of a coin, but within one being, and that makes for a really complex and also really exciting. I mean, I'm an Aquarius, so for me that's really exciting, and also a really exciting and dynamic personality. So to talk about Gemini, you're talking about a sign that has a deep love for learning anything new. Give me new information, new perspectives, new understandings, broaden my horizon, broaden my mind with information. Communication is a massive thing for Gemini. Talking, speaking, writing, all of this stuff is ruled by Mercury. So this stuff comes absolutely natural to them. A Gemini, I once heard the saying, I never met a word I didn't like. And I love that because it kind of describes me, even though I'm not a Gemini. That is a tagline that I would give to Gemini. All words, whether they're good words, potty words, potty mouth words, they love all of them. They love to communicate and they love to interact with people. You will find them, my astrology teacher gave us a really good example of one time a Gemini came into his class and they had like 3 phones, and he was like, okay, what's going on there? And they were like, minutes, so that they could message and talk, and very much that. And he's brilliant. For those of you that don't know him, his name is Frank Clifford. He runs the London School of Astrology and he's fucking brilliant. But anyway, enough about that. So yes, I've got my trusty notes here, and I've also got the blessings and lessons. So let's delve into this then. The blessings of the Gemini, or for the Gemini. Rationality. They really have this, and what I was saying about this dual nature. There is a part of their nature where they can really hone in on something and say, look, okay, what are the facts here? Let's pull the emotion out of it. Let's look at what we're looking at and make a decision based on what we're seeing. And when you talk about being rational as a blessing, sometimes you will find that these are the people that you want to be your sounding board. These are the people that you want to give you a different perspective, or even just to bounce your own ideas back at you, so that you can get a real sense of what is and what isn't. So rationality is a total blessing that these guys have, guys and girls. Witty. They are very witty. They love communication. They love words. They love making people laugh. They love enjoyment. There's a real carefree aspect to Gemini that, when we talk about mutable air, they are kind of like the original tumbleweed. They can go here and interact with these people, go there and interact with those people, and they are witty. They've got that, ability to come back with a sharp comeback, with a snapback or a clapback. They're really good at that sort of thing. And when I say witty, they just haven't, even the stuff that they say that might be considered a bit like, even that can come across as quite sort of eloquent. And I really love that about them. Listening. Geminis are brilliant listeners because they love to communicate. They very much listen to what people are saying to them. They won't just respond so that they can hear themselves talking. They will take in what you say at a deep level and they will give you an answer in response to what it is that you've actually said to them. They don't just take things in to digest them so that they can spit a response out or an answer. They will listen to you. They love to listen. There's and in that, when you have the ability to really care, to listen to somebody, there is a really caring aspect to you as well. Studying, learning, right? I talked about this, learning new things, taking on new methodologies. Show me, Gemini is the original. Show me how you want it done. And they will probably even improve on what it is that you give them. You could say to them, right, this is the method for getting from A to B. And they will find probably 3 or 4 other ways of doing that same journey that are exciting and fun and vibrant, and maybe even a little bit outside of what's considered acceptable. But even that, it shows that there's like almost like an innovative sort of part to them, but it's all based around communicating, right? So studying, learning, writing, taking things on board, learning new information, digesting new information. They love to study. These are the sort of people, Geminis, you'll find will study throughout their lives, whether it's in an academic institution or whether it's on a personal level. They're always seeking and striving to learn something new, to take on something new. Simplifying, so they like to take complex ideas. They like to take big sort of broad things that a lot of people would be like, oh, okay, that's a bit abstract for me. They'll take it and they'll simplify it, and this is because of their ability to digest information. They will take in this massive concept, break it down into pieces, and then be able to deliver that to somebody. You know, as a primary teacher, a primary school teacher, kindergarten, I think the Americans call it, these are brilliant sorts of people because they can take those big things and break them down into, and possibly make them fun as well, and then deliver it to a class where everybody is able to take on board what they say. So when we say simplifying, you know, it's not just about that rational aspect where they can say, right, let's deal with the facts. It's also that they're taking something and making it understandable or accessible for everybody, and that's brilliant. What a beautiful trait. Expressive. Geminis will talk with their hand. Justification is a big thing with them. No, I'm not a Gemini, but I do this a lot. I actually have Chiron in Gemini, interestingly enough. So yeah, expressive. They really, you know, and that is through spoken word, through written word, through communication. There is a real element of them that needs to express what they, you know, they want to talk about everything. Gemini, as a young person, might have been that person in the class that was always talking. Even after the teacher had said, okay, enough class, quiet please, the Gemini would still have been in the corner going, or, you know, scribbling something down, or, you know, that's the kind of energy that they portray. Sociable, going from here, there and everywhere. And when I said earlier about being able to mix with this group and that group and that group, and, you know, sometimes even bring those groups together, and in that way they kind of almost have like a bridging quality. When you think about the twins, they're able to maybe say, okay, well, these people don't get on and these people don't get on, but they have me in common, so maybe we can find some way to bring that in. And because of that, there's a very sociable aspect to them where they love to interact with people, and, you know, even bring people together. With wherever there is fun or a party to be had, you will definitely find a Gemini making the best of it. Fun and carefree are definitely words that you associate with Gemini, because there's almost like this youthful quality to them. Like, even somebody, can't remember where I read this, but they said that even in the older years, Geminis tend to have quite a young sort of youthful either complexion or face, or they will come across as quite, you know, a lot younger than they actually are. Realization and recognition, and this is a good one. So to elaborate on that, where was it? Because I put this down here somewhere. Yeah, it's, you know, and this is about understanding, but it's also about the possibilities. So when I say realization, they have a sense of, like, you could present them with something like an algebra formula, and they have a sense of being able to realize or recognize patterns within things, you know. So sometimes they will come to a conclusion or an answer by realizing what the pattern or the general trend may well be. They've got a really good sense of looking at things in a broad perspective like that. So realization and recognition is about pattern recognition. They're really good at that kind of thing. And then finally, alternative views. One of the things that I actually love about Gemini is, you know, they can, in the unconscious column, but for the most part, even if they don't agree with you, they will find some way to resonate with you. So they won't necessarily say, oh, well, you know, I agree with that, just to blow sunshines and rainbows up your bum. They will tell you, you know what, actually, no, I don't agree with that, and here are the reasons why. What do you think about that? And there again, you see that kind of dualistic nature to them. Like, they might not necessarily take on your viewpoint or even agree with you, but they will take the time to listen to what it is that you've got to say and why it is that you believe what you're saying. So, and playful as well, you know, and this feeds into the witty thing. Banter. If you've got good banter, you will attract a Gemini. If you are attracted to a Gemini, you better make sure your banter's on point. You've got to make sure that your pillow talk is on point once you've finished, because that's part of what excites them. It's part of what keeps them interested. So for the lessons, these are the things that, if unconscious and unchecked, could become issues, you know, or could become things that hold you back, right? Things that stop you from achieving your highest potential. So duplicitous. you know, and it's one of the traits that is probably, you know, that a lot of people, and it's, you know, it's not necessarily always about outright lying, which we've got here, or embellishing, which are definitely unconscious traits of the Gemini energy. But in terms of duplicitous, it's kind of like sometimes saying one thing and actually meaning another, and being very good at subterfuge, you know. And if you're not really used to that, or it's not something that you like, it can be quite sort of, ooh, you know, when you cotton on that actually you said that and you went and did that, and that's quite, you know, it's painful for anybody to go through as an experience. So just be mindful of that. You know, when we say duplicitous, it's kind of akin to being two-faced. You know, you're, to my face you're being really, really nice, and then behind my back you're slagging me off left, right and centre. Frivolous. Now, I've come under fire for using this word associated to Geminis not too long ago. So the thing about me is sometimes, yes, I might use a word out of context, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not using it in the right way for what I'm trying to say at the time. And, you know, if you want the hardcore version, yes, frivolity or frivolous means to do something without a point. It means to, you know, excessively, you know, go beyond what, you know, to use something to the point where it doesn't have a meaning or a use anymore. So when I talk about frivolity or being frivolous as being a lesson for Gemini, sometimes there is this kind of, well, you know, it doesn't really matter. One of the terms that I would associate to Gemini is nothing is sacred. And that's fine because it works for you guys, but that doesn't necessarily hold true for everybody. Some people, Scorpio. Did I really just, ooh? Anyway, you know, some people, things are sacred to. And so if this is unconscious for you and you are frivolous and you kind of don't see a point to anything, it's like, oh, well, that doesn't really matter. It might not matter to you, but it matters to somebody else. You have this ability to listen really well. So make sure that you catch that and you don't use that frivolous nature to end up hurting somebody inadvertently. Dismissive. And again, this comes into this, you know, like I'll take it in, I can be a listener, or I can just bat it to the side and say it doesn't resonate with me. That view is alternative to mine, so I'm not going to accept it. So really this should be on sort of both ends. So yeah, when we say dismissive, that's what I mean. Morally neutral. Mercury, the planet that rules Gemini, is, you know, it goes retrograde 3 or 4 times a year, so it kind of spends like half of its time retrograde, let's be honest. When you're talking about that, it kind of, you know, it's got this 50-50 ambivalent kind of feel to it, and for that reason, morally neutral. So as an unconscious lesson that they need to learn, maybe morally they can develop that vacuum that lawyers are taught to develop. Like, it's like, well, you know, I'll represent you even if I think you're guilty, because everyone should have a representative. Do you see where I'm coming from with that sort of morally neutral? So yes, as an unconscious Gemini, sometimes they can do or witness things and think, well, it's nothing to do with me, so whatever, I'll still go about my business. Lying and embellishing, and I really think that this is more because of the, you know, because there is that ability to tell a tall tale or to embellish on something, or, oh, you know, I actually lost 100 grand when really, like, you lost 500 quid, or, do you know what I mean? It's like this making it bigger than it actually is, or taking it beyond what it really is. Fleeting. Because there is this need to go places, to do things, to see people, to interact with people, sometimes they can build a connection with somebody that the other person may well feel is a genuine connection, and for them it's just fleeting, it's something that they do. And because they've got such a general knowledge on everything, they can really interact really well and then kind of be on to the next thing, and it kind of leaves the person left behind reeling, thinking, oh, okay, I thought we actually, you know, might have had something there. So just be mindful of that. Longevity, their staying power, because it's always, you know, what's next? Where am I going? You know, what's new to learn? It's things that take staying power, or things that take you, you know, digging your heels in and saying, right, I'll be in it for the long haul, in for the long run. That's one of the things that they struggle with. You know, it's can start loads of new things and, you know, get interested with something and be obsessed with it for a minute, and then once the novelty wears off, it's kind of like, yeah, what's next? Find some way to work around that. Opposing, you know, because of this dualistic or ambivalent nature, sometimes it can see them seeking to be at odds with the popular opinion just because they can, you know, which isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes people need to hear that opposite or alternative view, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes it is okay just to pick, you know, to pick a side and stick with it. And then finally, the gift of the gab. These guys can spin a yarn and a tale and make it sound like they are offering you gold for pennies. And for that reason, I think my astrology teacher likened them to, in the unconscious sector, they're kind of like the Artful Dodger. You know, like, consider yourself. And, you know, there's a real playful love about that character. But at base level, if you look at it realistically, you know, this was somebody that used to pickpocket people, and I'm not saying that all Geminis are that or that they have those traits, but what I'm saying is the gift of the gab works for and against you. Sometimes it's kind of like there's almost a tendency to buy into their own sort of lies or embellishments. And these are all things, like I said, if you are unconscious of this stuff, this is how it can express. And I'm just highlighting this so that it doesn't trip you up or cause you any problems. Or you can see yourself in both of these and say, right, okay, now that the world has given me certain experiences, I understand how I'm mirroring that back. I understand how experiences are happening to me, but based on how I behave or how I act and what energy I'm sending out there into the world. So with that said, that concludes and brings me, they love facts, you know, love facts. You'll find a Gemini will probably have a book of facts, or, you know, store away and squirrel away little bits of information and tidbits that most people, you know, would go over their heads or they would have long forgotten. Not so with a Gemini. Naming, communicating, also facts, taking complex ideas and simplifying it, moving from A to B. Lots of, you know, all the stuff that I've mentioned really. I really hope that you have found this fun and informative. I hope it helps you in some way, shape or form. Remember what I said, I am one person in 7 billion. I don't have all the answers or all the information, and I couldn't fit everything about all Geminis in a single 20-minute video. With that said, I wish you an abundance of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance itself. Take care, and I'll see you for the next in the series. Bye.